Thanks for stopping by our virtual open house for the Envision Coeur d'Alene project. In this video, we'll talk about the draft future land use map and the place types that designate future land uses within the city. Before we get into the draft land use map and the place types, let's talk about what Envision Coeur d'Alene is. This document, once adopted, will guide future growth decisions and land use planning for the next 20 years within the city. It also addresses the state of Idaho's comprehensive plan requirements to address 17 specific elements in the comprehensive plan. And then it also incorporates implementation strategies to say how we want to achieve the community's vision for the city. The Envision Coeur d'Alene plan, once adopted, will become a guiding document for the city in future decision making. It's important to note, though, that the plan will not change zoning or affect property rights. The plan will also not change building codes or other design requirements that are already established through other city processes. The plan itself will provide important information and implementation strategies for making future decisions within the city. The Envision Coeur d'Alene plan is based on extensive community input. We've had thousands of touch points over the last 15 months to develop the plan and its expected outcomes. This included in-person meetings, online surveys, focus groups, advisory committees, discussions with community service organizations, as well as Planning Commission and City Council. Using the extensive community input and technical analysis completed earlier in the project, we developed scenarios to address different ways that growth might occur within the city over time. We looked at a corridor approach, which focuses future growth along major highways and road corridors. We looked at districts to develop a scenario that locates jobs and housing in concentrated areas around the city to provide a mix of uses in a very walkable environment. And then we also developed a compact scenario, which increases jobs and housing in the central portion of the city, primarily through redevelopment of existing commercial areas. Now we're going to talk about place types, the essential building block of the future land use map. Place types are generalized land use classifications that help provide guidance about future growth within the city. They're implemented through the city's development and zoning code, and they also implement the vision and guiding principles that have evolved over the course of this project for the last 15 months. Each place type has a number of key characteristics depending on the type of development expected within the area. We also address transportation amenities, anticipated building types and uses, and other information that might be necessary to provide guidance on future land use. To tie the zoning code with the Envision Coeur d'Alene plan, existing compatible zoning has also been identified for each place type to help identify how existing and future growth align. With that foundation, let's now talk about the draft future land use map. The city's future land use map establishes the roadmap for how the city will manage growth over the next 20 years. Each parcel within the area of city impact has been assigned a place type that establishes what that growth might look like over the next 20 years. It's important to note, though, that while place types are new to the city of Coeur d'Alene, the existing zoning is not going to change for those underlying areas. Each place type is consistent with the existing zoning, and the zoning is what regulates the development that can occur there today. Single-family neighborhood places are the lowest density areas within the city of Coeur d'Alene and are primarily single-family homes on larger lots. You'll notice that areas within the area of city impact have also been identified for single-family neighborhood places. This is due primarily to topographic or environmental constraints that would limit the type of development that could occur within those areas. While slightly higher density than single-family neighborhoods, compact and urban neighborhoods are very much the existing development pattern within the majority of the city of Coeur d'Alene today. These are composed of primarily single-family homes, but also include duplexes, townhomes, auto courts, garden apartments, and other types of uses that provide a more diverse type of housing within the area. Through the community feedback, being able to walk to local amenities was very important to residents and businesses who responded to the surveys and attended public meetings. As a result, a number of mixed-use places have been identified within the city of Coeur d'Alene, either in areas that are potentially high for redevelopment or in locations where planning has already occurred for future mixed use. Many of these locations are along major corridors and affect older auto-centric shopping centers, primarily ones that have either been vacant or underused for a number of years. This image shows a similar corridor within the city of Boise and how a redevelopment might occur over time. As you can see with this image, much of the existing infrastructure stays, but with changes in the streets and reorientation of parking, while still provided within the development, additional opportunities for housing or other types of mixed use can fit within the existing development structure. Downtown is a combination of dense mixed-use areas with older Main Street style development that supports smaller scale businesses, restaurants, and tourist destinations. Building scales range from 1 to 2-story buildings in older locations to some structures reaching a maximum of 220 feet, which still must meet the downtown development standards and guidelines. Retail center corridor places, identified in purple on the map, are primarily car-oriented destinations that provide a variety of services such as hotels, motels, restaurants, shopping, and other commercial uses along major streets. These locations are typically developed with large format retail uses with some infill commercial development at the street. Industrial spaces, identified in blue, include manufacturing and logistics that provide a range of job types and services. These are locations that provide concentrated areas of employment and create goods and services with a mix of indoor industrial uses separated from residential areas. Primary uses typically include things like manufacturing, warehousing, storage, and industrial parks. Employment centers may be auto-oriented or more campus-style development that are focused on providing concentrated employment within the city. These areas should evolve over time to be walkable and bikeable, with a range of services to support employment uses, with parking either structured within buildings or located in ways to minimize impacts to pedestrians and public spaces. Typical uses include office parks, hospitals, hotels and motels to support employment, research facilities, and limited retail. Civic places are typically publicly owned spaces such as parks, cemeteries, public facilities like the library or city hall, all that have a civic function for the Coeur d'Alene community. Civic uses in limited instances may also include private open space located within a planned development. Schools and education facilities such as the North Idaho campus are also considered civic spaces. Planned development places are locations that have completed the planned unit development application process. As a part of that process, the city and the applicant have agreed to a determined set of complementary land uses that can include a number of place types. Large-scale planned developments often have a determined phasing and development plan that may include such land uses as housing, recreation, commercial centers, civic, and industrial parks, all within one contained development or subdivision application. Building design and scale, transportation, open space, and other elements are approved through the City of Coeur d'Alene's Planned Unit Development Evaluation process. Thanks for taking the time to come to this virtual open house and view this video on the draft future land use map. Your input is incredibly important, particularly as we begin to wrap up the Envision Coeur d'Alene plan. If you have input or would like additional information, please visit our website at envisioncda.org. Thanks so much for your time.